Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the new SCT-19 frame.
Woo! Oh, she punches.
Real quick before we get started, please, if you like all my content, you want to support the channel, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and comment on pretty much all of my videos. Help grow the channel. Also, I do have a buy me a coffee page, so if you guys like this video and you want to support the channel, you can shoot over there, show your support, help grow the channel. Everything's appreciated. But let's get right into it. So this is my build for the new SCT-19 frame. This is a serialized frame from SCT Manufacturing. Before I go any further, let me just let you guys know that this firearm is clear. I don't have any ammunition anywhere, so we are safe. Just a quick rundown of the stuff I kind of did to it and what I like about it. This is a Polymer Glock 19 frame, very similar to the Strike 80 frame that came out a while ago. It's since been discontinued. It shares a lot of the kind of the curves, it shares a lot of the actual footprint of the Strike 80, because as you can see, I actually have the Strike 80C Polymer magwell, so it will fit. I just want to say you do have to kind of pull the walls apart because this magwell is slightly wider, so you just have to pull it a little bit apart and it'll eventually fit right in. Starting from the bottom, right off the bat, you have a pretty aggressive texture here on the grip, with these grip lines on the front and back of the grip that really helps lock your hand in. Some people were saying that this is a little bit too aggressive, similar to the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. I think it's just fine. It really helps cinch your hand into that grip. Moving up, we have that texturing on the upper part of the frame where your finger sits. Obviously, if you have the gun in this hand, that's where your thumb is. Can't really contort my hand to get in there, but that's where your thumb sits. As well as the cutouts are for what you would call accelerator cuts right here that you would normally do to get your support thumb right there locked in to keep your sight tracking straight up and down. Very good stuff. I really like how they kind of did a bump out and then put the texture in. Really helps lock your hand into the frame. On the trigger guard, you do have a double undercut here, but the double undercut's done a little bit differently. You have these bump outs right here that are kind of like index points. So when your hand really grips this thing, you index on those bump outs and you can tweak your grip to whatever style you like shooting. If you like shooting with your fingers underneath the trigger guard, you can. If you like to support the front of the trigger guard with your support hand index finger, you can. You know, I know Lena Michalek does that, where she's got two fingers up in front to really help drive the front of the gun down. So that's really cool. They have these ribs right here to really emphasize that aggressive locking feature. Very, very aggressive lines on this frame. Some people like it, some people won't. In the back you have really, this is kind of my only con. I tend to get a really high grip, and you really can get a super high grip on this, but because this end is so it just comes to a point and it's got those angles on it, kind of digs into my hand while I'm shooting. Yeah, that's just a personal comfortability thing. I may end up, rounding that off a little bit and making it a little bit smoother, but it's not a real big deal right now. Moving forward, you do have your 4 slots for your Picatinny rail, and that fits quite a variety of weapon mounted lights. I do have 2 here. For your TLR 7A, you're gonna want to go with the 1913-1 insert. So that will index right at the furthest most slot right there, and then you can just tighten it down and it sits really flush. I also have the nightstick, which this is just the C2 rail key, so that's going to index at that furthest most slot as well. You can also move it back. I forget which key slot that one is. I just have this one because this fits the Glock 17, and that's what I had this on. So that index is right there. You can see how that fits. And that's pretty fine. I mean, you can go further back, just personal preference, depending on what kind of holster you have. This is completely fine for me. These, if you have a nightstick, you know how super sensitive these buttons are. So keeping it a little bit further may actually aid in getting away from accidental activations of that light. This is the Leo Precision Symmetry slide. I went with this one because it kind of matches the aggressiveness of the frame, and these slide cuts are very, very aggressive. They're not smoothed out or anything. It's kind of like a cheese grater, but I do love the look of it. I do not have any sights on this because this is not really something I had intended for any type of duty or anything. This is just for the heck of it build. I do have the Vector Optics. I believe this is the SCRD 36 RMR cut. This is not the new version that came out. They do have a few versions. They're innovating all the time. They have an enclosed optic that's coming out that I would love to get my hands on and do some testing. But I've had this one for a while and it works great. 3 MOA dot, shake awake functions, 20,000 hour battery life, manual operations. It's similar to the Trigicon SRO with a few differences. The only con is that it does not have positive clicks for your adjustments like some other optics, but it adjusts really well. I mean, if you're pretty close and you can just kind of gauge it by feel. I've only had to adjust this maybe a little bit left or right for windage and a little bit up and down. Within one mag of 10 rounds, I was bang on. So really like this. I love Vector Optics and their stuff. More to come from that. The trigger that I have in here, it's a stock trigger bar. This is an aftermarket trigger. I thought it was a Serpico trigger shoe. I think it's just a knockoff because it's not as refined and it doesn't have the Serpico logo on it. Thought it was, got it off eBay. Was really inexpensive. I mean, Serpico's inexpensive as it is, but they make some really good triggers. I actually have that on my carry pistol. They are really good and I can attest no issues from that. The only difference, the only thing that is giving me a hang up on here is because when you get into builds, and you'll hear this from a lot of other YouTubers and gunsmiths and everything like that. When you get into custom building and you know, slapping parts together, not every part's made the same. So you get what's called tolerance stacking, is when everything is built to tight tolerances and you start stacking tight tolerance on tight tolerance, then it's just going to make for a super tight gun. And I'll show you what that looks like. So the trigger, once you pull the trigger, because it's so tight in there, I'm gonna pull it back and let it reset. Stops right there. Yeah, that's because on this side's actually getting wedged up against the actual the trigger cutout. So that'll wear in over time. It's just something to note when you guys are putting parts into these things. Just be aware that you may get some tolerance stacking with, you know, parts from different manufacturers. But other than that, when you're shooting this, the reset, if I let it out, it goes out fine, but it's just something to keep in mind. For the barrel, this is a Hooper's Gunworks fluted match grade barrel. I went with it just because it was blue and it matched the trigger. And Hooper's Gunworks makes some pretty good barrels. Their finish is kinda iffy because I've only had about 100 rounds through this thing and there's quite a bit of wear on there. I don't know if you can see that. But right there, I mean, it's gonna wear on pretty much every barrel like that, but if the coating is not as, you know, robust, then you're gonna get that. Not a big deal to me. I still love it, still looks great, but you know, some people may hate that. I know some people are vanity whores. This is just my fun gun. I like the way it looks. It's cool. It's something I made, or something I put together, so I love it. I'm running an uncaptured, this is, I believe, a 15-pound uncaptured spring. I just like uncaptured springs because they feel a little bit smoother. Also, it's got a lighter spring weight, so that return isn't as harsh. When the gun comes down, I'm usually right on target, so that's helped with my faster follow-up shots. Haven't put a lot of rounds through this one, but I'm getting there as I use it more. I got a lot of stuff to review. It will fit in your safari lands if you have your cutout for your optics. If you don't have your optics, it'll still fit in there. If you have your weapon lights, it'll still fit in there too. If you have a traditional arms holster like I have here, does fit. Just doesn't quite lock, but does fit in there. You just have to play with the retention, so that's really cool. With the Strike 80C magwell, it will, if you have, this is a +0. I have to say that every time so that everyone doesn't get mad because I'm in Connecticut and all that crap. Reduced capacity magazine. Will fit in there, locks in fine, comes out fine, no binding, regular Glock 17 mags. Goes in fine. The Magpul P mag go in fine. Those actually go in, for whatever reason, easier than these mags, which are the OEM mags with the aftermarket base plate. So that's kind of funny, but these just fit great. They do have a little bit of a hard time coming out, but going in, they lock in really easily. ETS mags do the same thing. ETS mags go in really nice. And then you have the OEM with the OEM base plate. These, you kinda have to slap them and jam them up in there. That's the only one I had an issue with, but everything else worked fine. And you'll run into that issue with a lot of other magwells. It's just the name of the game. You know, you're adding a little bit of material to the bottom so that you can get the mag funneled in there, so it's going to contact that base pad and give you a little bit of a hard time if you don't have an extension. So that's just something to be aware of with pretty much all mag wells that don't have a base plate specifically made for them. So that's it, guys. Hope that answered all your questions. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, don't forget, I do have that support page. A link is in the description if you want to go over there and check it out. Guys, don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe. Help grow the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
How do you like it?
Oh yeah.
He's like, I'm getting a red dot.
He's like, woo!
I'm hitting the freaking orange.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
that's better.
so nice, aren't they? Yeah.
Gotta love it.